Jake Carter never wanted to be special. He was a simple communications officer on the starship Endeavour, and that was enough for him. He fixed broken radios, sent messages back to Earth, and spent his free time looking at the stars. It was a quiet life, and he liked it that way. But the universe had other plans for Jake Carter. The Endeavour had traveled for 6 months to reach the Empire. This was humanity's first official meeting with one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. They had been watching Earth for centuries, and they had finally decided that humans were ready to talk. Jake was not supposed to be part of the diplomatic team. He was just a technician, a nobody in the grand scheme of things. But 2 days before they arrived at the home world, one of the honor guards got very sick. Captain Amy Dawson needed someone to fill the empty spot, and Jake was the only one available. So there he stood in the back of the human group, wearing a dress uniform that did not fit quite right. He tried to make himself as small as possible. He was not a diplomat. He did not know how to bow properly or what to say to alien royalty. He just wanted to get through this ceremony without making a fool of himself. The throne room of the Imperial Palace was the most beautiful thing Jake had ever seen. The walls were made of some kind of crystal that seemed to sing when light passed through it. Platforms floated in the air without any visible support. The ceiling was so high that Jake could not see where it ended. Emperor and Empress sat on thrones that looked like they were carved from frozen starlight. They were tall beings, much taller than humans, with skin that changed colors like a living rainbow. Jake had read about this in the mission briefings. They showed their emotions through their skin. They could not hide what they felt, even if they wanted to. Right now, the Emperor's skin was a calm blue. He seemed pleased with the human visitors. The Empress was a soft green, which meant she was curious but cautious. Ambassador Richard was doing most of the talking. He was a small man with gray hair and a voice that carried well. He spoke about peace and cooperation and the bright future that humans could build together. It was a good speech, Jake thought, very professional. Jake let his eyes wander around the room. There were hundreds of courtiers watching the ceremony. Their skin colors shifted and changed as they whispered to each other. Some were excited. Some were bored. Some looked at the humans like they were looking at strange animals in a zoo. Then the doors at the back of the throne room opened, and everything changed. A young woman walked in. She was smaller than her parents, but she moved with a confidence that made everyone notice her. Her skin was shifting between deep purple and bright silver. Jake did not know what those colors meant. This was Princess, the only child of the Emperor and Empress. Jake had seen pictures of her in the mission files, but they did not do her justice. There was something about her that made it hard to look away. The princess walked past the human delegation without even glancing at them. She took her place beside her parents, and the ceremony continued. Jake let out a breath he did not know he was holding. For a moment there, he had felt like something important was about to happen. The ambassador finished his speech. The emperor responded with words of welcome. Everything was going exactly as planned. Then Princess stood up. The entire room went quiet. Even her parents looked surprised. This was clearly not part of the plan. The princess walked down from the raised platform where her family sat. She moved slowly, her eyes scanning the human group. Jake felt a chill run down his back when her gaze passed over him. Then it stopped. She was looking directly at him. Jake wanted to look away, but he could not. Her eyes were large and luminous, like pools of liquid silver. They held him in place as surely as if she had grabbed him with her hands. The princess walked toward him. The crowd parted to let her through. Ambassador tried to step forward to say something, but she raised one hand and he froze in place. She stopped right in front of Jake. She was taller than him by almost a head, and she looked down at him with an expression he could not read. Her skin was changing colors rapidly now, cycling through shades of purple, gold, and white. She walked around him slowly, studying him from every angle. Jake felt like a bug under a microscope. His heart was beating so fast he thought it might burst out of his chest. His palms were sweating. He did not know what was happening, but he knew it was something big. Finally, the princess stopped. She turned to face her parents, who were watching with expressions of shock. Her skin settled into a brilliant, blazing gold. Later, Jake would learn that this color meant absolute certainty. It meant I had made a decision they would never change. Princess raised her hand and pointed directly at Jake. When she spoke, her voice rang through the chamber like a clear bell. She spoke in perfect English, without any accent at all. "He belongs to me." For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The words hung in the air like a physical thing. Then chaos erupted. Ambassadors started shouting about protocols and treaties. Captain Dawson's hand moved toward the weapon at her hip. The courtiers exploded into noise, their skin flashing through every color of the rainbow. But Jake just stood there, frozen in place, staring at the alien princess who had just claimed him as her own. He did not understand what was happening. He did not know what her words meant. All he knew was that his quiet, simple life had just ended, and something completely new was about to begin. The princess turned back to look at him. For just a moment, her expression softened. There was something in her eyes that looked almost like hope. "Do not be afraid," she said quietly, so only he could hear. "I have been waiting for you for a very long time." Then she turned and walked back to her parents, leaving Jake standing alone in the middle of the throne room, the center of attention in a way he had never wanted to be. He had no idea what was going to happen next, but as he looked at the alien princess who had chosen him, he felt something strange stir in his chest. It might have been fear, it might have been excitement, it might have been something else entirely. Whatever it was, Jake Carter knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The throne room was in chaos. Voices shouted in 2 languages. Skin colors flashed like broken traffic lights. Ambassador was waving his arms and demanding explanations. Captain Dawson had her hand on her weapon and was looking around for threats. Jake stood in the middle of it all, feeling like he was trapped in a dream he could not wake up from. Emperor raised his hand. The gesture was small, but the effect was immediate. Everyone stopped talking. Everyone stopped moving. The power in that simple motion was clear to see. "Silence," the Emperor said. His voice was calm but firm. "We will discuss this matter properly." He looked at his daughter. His skin had shifted to a deep orange color that Jake did not recognize. Later, he would learn it meant confusion mixed with concern. The Emperor said slowly, "Do you understand what you have done? You have invoked the ancient right of claiming. This has not happened in 300 cycles." "I understand, Father." The princess stood tall and straight. Her golden skin did not waver. "I have found one whose essence calls to mine. The bond cannot be ignored. I will not ignore it." The Empress descended from her throne. She moved like water flowing downhill, smooth and graceful. She walked to where Jake stood and looked at him carefully. Jake tried not to flinch under her gaze. Up close, he could see that her eyes were like her daughter's, large and silver and full of ancient wisdom. She studied him the way a scientist might study a new species of insect. "He is so small," the Empress said, "so fragile. Humans live such short lives, 80 cycles, perhaps 90 if they are lucky. What can he offer you, my daughter?" "Everything," replied without hesitation. "I have watched him since his ship entered our space. I have studied his mind, his heart, his spirit. He burns with a light I have never seen before. He is exactly what I have been searching for." Jake finally found his voice. It came out rough and unsteady, but it came out. "Wait, stop. Does anyone want to tell me what is going on here?" The entire room turned to look at him. Several courtiers gasped at his boldness. Speaking without permission in the presence of the royal family was apparently a serious breach of protocol. But Princess smiled. Her skin flickered with a color like warm honey. "You are brave," she said. "I knew you would be. You are not afraid to speak even when you should be." "I am very afraid," Jake admitted. "I just do not know what I am supposed to be afraid of." Walked toward him. The crowd parted again to let her through. She stopped close enough that Jake could feel warmth coming off her skin. "Among my people," she explained, "there is an ancient tradition called the claiming. When I find someone whose essence matches their own, they can claim that person as their. It is the deepest connection two beings can share. It is not slavery. It is not ownership. It is partnership, equality, two souls joined as one." "And you want to do this with me?" Jake asked. "Why, you do not even know me." "I know you better than you think." Eyes held his. "I know that you spend your nights studying our language and our history, not because anyone told you to, but because you wanted to understand. I know that when your ship first arrived here, you looked at our sky and you cried because you thought it was beautiful. I know that you are lonely, even when you are surrounded by your crew mates. I know that you dream of seeing things no human has ever seen." Jake felt his face grow hot. Everything she said was true. He did not know how she knew these things, but they were all true. "The claiming is not a prison," continued. "It is a door. If you accept, you will have access to knowledge and technology your species has only dreamed about. Your will extend to match mine. You will see wonders that no human has ever witnessed. You will have a partner who will stand beside you for thousands of years." "And if I refuse?" A ripple of shock passed through the watching. Apparently, refusing a princess was not something people did very often. Skin shifted to a thoughtful purple. "Then you will be free to leave. You will return to your ship and your people, and I will not stop you. The claiming must be accepted freely. I cannot force you, and I would not want to." Ambassador pushed his way forward. His face was red and he was breathing hard. "Your Highnesses, this is highly unusual. We came here to establish diplomatic relations between our peoples. We did not come here to have our personnel claimed like property." Emperor's expression softened slightly. "Ambassador, you misunderstand the situation. My daughter has not claimed your officer as property. She has chosen him as her equal partner in all things. This is an honor that has not been offered to anyone outside our species in over 1,000 cycles." "An honor?" sputtered. "He is a communications officer. He has no authority to make decisions that affect all of humanity." "He has authority over his own life," said sharply. "That is the only authority that matters here." Jake looked at Captain Dawson. She was watching him with an expression he could not read. She had been his commanding officer for 3 years. She knew him better than almost anyone else on the ship. "Captain," he asked, "what should I do?" Dawson was quiet for a long moment. Then she shook her head slowly. "I cannot tell you what to do, Lieutenant. This is your choice, but I can tell you this. They cannot lie. It is physically impossible for them. Their skin colors reveal everything they feel. If the princess says you would be her equal partner, she means it." Jake turned back too. She was watching him with an intensity that made his skin tingle. "I need time," he said. "I need to think about this." Nodded. "Of course. You have until the third moon rises tonight. That gives you several hours." She paused and her voice grew softer. "I know this is overwhelming. I know you did not expect any of this. But please believe me when I say that I did not make this choice lightly. When I first saw you, I felt something I have never felt before. A connection. A recognition. Like the universe was telling me that you were meant to be part of my life." She reached out and touched his hand. Her skin was warm, almost hot, and Jake felt a strange tingling sensation where they touched. "Whatever you decide," she said, "humanity has earned my respect through you. Your people are remarkable. The galaxy should know it." Then she turned and walked back to her parents. The ceremony was clearly over. They began to file out of the throne room, their skin colors flickering with excitement and curiosity. Captain Dawson put a hand on Jake's shoulder. "Come on," she said. "Let us get you back to the guest quarters. You have a lot of thinking to do." Jake nodded numbly. He let the captain lead him out of the throne room, away from the crowds, away from the chaos. But even as he walked, he could feel eyes on his back, and he could still feel the warmth of her touch on his hand. He had a few hours to make the biggest decision of his life. A few hours to choose between the world he knew and a future he could not even imagine. Jake Carter had never wanted to be special, but it seemed like special had found him anyway. Jake sat alone in the guest quarters, staring out the window at the alien sky. 2 moons were already visible, glowing softly in the purple darkness. The 3rd moon was just starting to rise above the horizon. When it was fully up, he would have to give his answer. The room was beautiful, filled with furniture that seemed to grow out of the floor like plants. Soft light came from crystals embedded in the walls. Everything was designed to make visitors feel comfortable and welcome. Jake did not feel comfortable. He felt like his brain was going to explode. A knock at the door made him jump. He walked over and opened it to find Captain Dawson standing in the hallway. "May I come in?" she asked. Jake stepped aside to let her enter. She walked to the window and looked out at the moons for a moment before turning to face him. "How are you holding up, Lieutenant?" Jake laughed, but there was no humor in it. "An alien princess just claimed me in front of her entire court. I have to decide if I want to leave everything I know behind and bond with her forever. I am doing great, Captain." Dawson nodded slowly. "I have been in contact with Earth. The message takes a while to get there and back, but I have received their initial response." "What do they say?" "Half of them want you to accept. They see this as an amazing opportunity. An alliance with the could give us access to technology we need desperately. Medical advances that could save millions of lives. Energy systems that could solve our problems back home." She paused. "The other half thinks it is some kind of trap." "What do you think, Captain?" Dawson was quiet for a long moment. She sat down on one of the strange chairs and looked at Jake with serious eyes. "I think the princess was telling the truth. They really cannot lie. I have been studying them since we arrived, and every word they say matches their skin colors. If says you would be her equal partner, she means it." She leaned forward. "But more importantly, I think you deserve to make this choice yourself. Not because Earth wants something, not because I tell you to, but because it is your life and your future." Another knock at the door. This time it was Doctor, the ship's expert on alien biology. He was a thin man with messy hair and glasses that were always slightly crooked. He practically bounced into the room. "Jake, you will not believe what I have learned," he said excitedly. "I have been researching the claiming bond all day. It is not just a ceremony. It is biological, real. When 2 beings bond, their minds actually connect on a level we do not fully understand." "What does that mean?" Jake asked. "It means the bond enhances everything. Cognitive function, emotional regulation, physical health. And yes, it dramatically extends. There are records of from short-lived species living for thousands of years after bonding with a. So I would become immortal. Not immortal, but close. And the really amazing part is that the bond does not change who you are. It enhances you. You would still be Jake Carter, just a better version. Smarter, stronger, more aware." His eyes were shining with scientific wonder. "This is the opportunity of a lifetime, Jake, of 1,000 lifetimes." After left, still talking excitedly about the biological implications, Jake received one more visitor. Ambassador knocked and entered without waiting for an answer. "Lieutenant Carter," he said formally, "I need to speak with you about the political implications of your decision." Jake sighed. "Go ahead, Ambassador." Sat down and folded his hands in his lap. His face was serious. "If you accept this bond, you will not just be changing your own life. You will be changing humanity's place in the galaxy. To have technology we desperately need. An alliance through you could save millions of lives. It could ensure humanity's survival for generations to come." "No pressure," Jake muttered. had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. I know it is not fair to put this weight on your shoulders, but nothing about humanity's position in the galaxy is fair. We are small. We are young. We are surrounded by civilizations that have been doing this for millions of years. Every advantage matters. After the ambassador left, Jake stood at the window and watched the third moon rise higher. He had less than an hour left. He thought about Earth. He thought about his mother who still lived in the small house in Ohio where he grew up. He thought about his two brothers, one a teacher and one a firefighter. He thought about the friends he had made on the Endeavor, the life he had built, the future he had planned. Then he thought about her silver eyes, her warm touch, the way she had looked at him like she could see everything he was and everything he could become. He had joined the space program because he wanted to see what was out there, because the unknown called to him like a song he could not ignore, because the idea of spending his entire life on one planet, knowing only one way of living, felt like a slow kind of death. Now he was being offered everything he had ever dreamed of, and he was scared to take it. The door chimed again. Jake opened it and found Princess standing in the hallway. "I know I should not be here," she said quietly. "Tradition says the claimed one must decide alone, but I could feel your confusion from across the palace. I could not bear to leave you suffering." "You can feel what I feel." Nodded, a shadow of it. "The bond has already begun to form. Your willingness to consider my offer opened the door between us." She stepped into the room, her skin glowing a soft, gentle blue. "I wanted you to know that I did not make this choice quickly. I have been watching humanity for a long time. I have studied your history, your art, your science. And when I saw you weeping at our sky, I felt something I had never felt before." "What did you feel?" "Recognition, connection, like the universe was whispering that this strange, brief, beautiful creature was meant to be part of my life." She moved closer, her eyes searching his face. "Your species lives such short lives compared to mine, but that is what makes you remarkable. You burn so brightly because you know your time is limited. You love so deeply, fight so hard, dream so big because every moment matters to you." Jake felt something shift in his chest. Fear, yes, but also something else, something that felt like hope. "What happens if the bond does not work?" he asked. "What if we cannot connect?" "Then it fades away and you return to your people with my blessing and my friendship. No harm, no bad feelings between us." She reached out and took his hand. Her skin was warm, almost electric. "But I do not believe that will happen, Jake Carter. I believe you and I are going to change the galaxy together." Jake looked into her eyes. They were like pools of liquid moonlight, deep and mysterious and somehow welcoming. He thought about everything he would be leaving behind, his family, his friends, his world. Then he thought about everything he would be gaining: adventure, wonder, a partner who would stand beside him for thousands of years, a chance to see things no human had ever seen before. The third moon was fully up now, casting silver light across the room. Jake took a deep breath. "Okay," he said, "I will do it. I will accept the bond." Skin blazed golden, bright as the sun. Her smile was the most beautiful thing Jake had ever seen. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for trusting me. I promise you will not regret it." She leaned forward and pressed her forehead against his. Jake felt warmth spreading through his body, starting where their skin touched and flowing outward like liquid light. His new life was about to begin. The bonding ceremony took place in a sacred grove at the heart of the imperial palace. Ancient trees with leaves made of crystal surrounded a pool that glowed with soft inner light. The water, if it was water, shimmered with colors that had no names in any human language. Jake stood at the edge of the pool, wearing simple white robes that the had given him. His human clothes had been taken away. They said he needed to enter the bond with nothing from his old life. Representatives from both species watched from the edges of the grove. Captain Dawson was there, along with Ambassador and several other crew members from the Endeavor. They looked nervous but supportive. The Emperor and Empress sat on floating platforms above the pool, their skin colors a mix of pride and concern. Princess walked toward him from the other side of the grove. She was wearing robes that matched his, and her skin was cycling through colors so fast that Jake could not keep track of them. She was feeling everything at once, he realized. Joy, fear, hope, excitement, love. "Are you ready?" she asked when she reached him. "No," Jake admitted, "but I am going to do it anyway." Smiled. "That is the most human thing you could have said." They joined hands and stepped into the pool together. The liquid was strange. It was not cold and it was not warm. It did not feel wet exactly, but more like being surrounded by gentle pressure. Jake felt it seeping into his skin, his muscles, his bones. It did not hurt, but it was uncomfortable, like his body was being taken apart and put back together. Beside him, skin blazed through a cascade of colors he had never seen before. Some of them did not exist in the human spectrum. Jake could only see them because the bond was already starting to work, expanding his perception beyond normal human limits. Then the connection opened. It was like a door in his mind swinging open to reveal a vast room he never knew existed. His consciousness touched his own, gentle and curious, like a hand reaching out in friendship. He felt her emotions, her joy that he had accepted her, her hope for their future together, her lingering fear that he might still change his mind, her love, deep and ancient and patient, that had been waiting for someone like him for centuries. In return, he opened himself to her. He showed her his memories of Earth, golden wheat fields under summer skis, the roar of ocean waves crashing on rocky shores, the laughter of his family around the dinner table at Thanksgiving, the smell of his mother's cooking, the feel of grass under his bare feet when he was a child. He shared his dreams too, his desire to explore the unknown, his wish to see things no human had ever seen, his deep and persistent loneliness, even when he was surrounded by other people. Understanding flowed between them like water finding its level. In that moment, Jake realized something amazing. For the first time in his entire life, he was truly known. Every flaw, every strength, every secret shame and hidden hope saw them all, and she accepted them completely. She did not judge him for his fears. She did not criticize him for his weaknesses. She saw him exactly as he was, and she loved him anyway. When they emerged from the pool, Jake felt transformed. His senses were sharper than before. He could see colors he had never noticed. He could hear sounds that used to be beyond his range. His thoughts were clearer, faster, more organized. And in the back of his mind he could feel. She was there like a warm ember, always present, always comforting. He was not alone anymore. He would never be alone again. "The bond is complete," Emperor announced. His voice rang through the grove like a bell. "From this day forward, Jake Carter of Earth stands as a prince of the Empire, with all the rights and responsibilities that title carries." The crowd erupted in celebration. Captain Dawson was wiping tears from her eyes. Ambassador looked like he did not know whether to laugh or faint. In the weeks that followed, Jake began to learn what his new life would be like. He trained with masters who taught him how to use his enhanced abilities. He studied their history, their science, their art, their philosophy. He learned to read skin colors like a native speaker reads text. And slowly, he began to understand why I had chosen him. They were powerful. They were wise. They were ancient beyond human comprehension. Their civilization had existed for millions of years, and they had achieved things that humans could barely imagine. But they had also grown careful, conservative, afraid of change. Their society had stopped advancing centuries ago, locked in patterns and traditions that nobody questioned. They had everything they needed, so they stopped reaching for more. Jake questioned everything. During a council meeting one day, he raised his hand. The advisors looked at him with surprise, did not usually speak at council meetings. "Why do you not explore the outer rim?" he asked. "I have seen your star maps. There are hundreds of star systems out there that you have never visited." The advisors exchanged uncomfortable looks. Their skin flickered with colors of unease. "The outer rim is dangerous," one of them replied. "It is uncharted, unknown. We do not know what is out there." "Unknown means undiscovered," Jake countered. "There could be new civilizations out there, new allies, new resources, new knowledge. How can you call yourselves an empire when you have stopped expanding?" There was a long silence. Nobody had spoken to the council like this in a very long time. Smiled, her skin shimmered with pride. This was exactly why she had chosen him. With Jake's encouragement, they began to change. They reopened research programs that had been closed for centuries. They sent scout ships to regions of space that had been forbidden for generations. They reached out to species they had dismissed as too primitive to bother with. Change came slowly at first, then faster and faster. Jake found himself at the center of a revolution, not of weapons and violence, but of ideas and hope. And through it all, the bond between him and grew deeper. What had started as a mystical connection became genuine love, built on shared experiences and mutual respect, and endless conversations that stretched through the night. One evening, they walked together through the palace gardens. Crystal flowers bloomed around them, glowing softly in the darkness. "You know what I find amazing about humans," said. "What is that?" "You are so young as a species. By all logic, you should not be able to do the things you do. You should still be fighting over resources on your home world, but instead you reach for the stars." She took his hand, her skin glowing warm amber. "There is something special about your kind, Jake, a fire that refuses to go out." Jake thought about all the humans he had known. His mother, who had raised 3 children alone after his father died. Captain Dawson, who had fought her way to command despite everyone telling her she could not. The scientists and engineers who had built the ships that carried humanity into space, never knowing if their work would succeed. "We do not know how to give up," he said simply, "even when we probably should." "I know," replied. She stopped walking and turned to face him. Her eyes were like moons, silver and beautiful. "That is why I love you." Jake kissed her then, under the crystal flowers, surrounded by stars that humanity was only beginning to explore. He had come to this world as a nobody, a simple communications officer who never wanted to be special. Now he was a prince, a revolutionary, a bridge between 2 civilizations. And this was only the beginning. 5 years had passed since the bonding ceremony. Jake stood on the bridge of the flagship, looking out at the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. Thousands of ships from a dozen different species hung in the darkness of space, waiting for his command. Behind him monitored the tactical displays. Her skin was a calm, confident silver. Through their bond, he could feel her steady presence supporting him. They were about to face the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known. The Void Swarm had emerged from the darkest reaches of space 6 months ago. Nobody knew where it came from or what it wanted. All they knew was that it consumed everything in its path. It was a mechanical plague, billions of tiny machines that devoured entire planets and used the raw materials to make more of itself. 3 civilizations had already fallen to the swarm. Their home worlds were now dead balls of rock, stripped of every resource, every building, every living thing. The Empire had been the first to organize a response, but Jake knew they could not fight alone. No single civilization could stand against something this massive. So he had spent the last 2 years building a coalition. He had traveled to 100 worlds, spoken to 100 leaders, made 100 arguments for why everyone needed to work together. Some species had never spoken to each other before. Some had been enemies for thousands of years. But Jake convinced them. He showed them what humans could do when they worked together. He reminded them that the swarm did not care about old grudges or ancient borders. It would consume everyone equally. Now the coalition was ready. Humans, and a dozen other species, all united against a common enemy. The communications officer spoke up. "All fleet commanders are reporting ready, Prince Jake." Jake took a deep breath. This was it, the moment everything had been building toward. He stepped forward to address the combined forces. His voice carried across thousands of ships, translated into dozens of languages by advanced technology. "When I was a boy on Earth," he began, "my mother used to tell me that nobody stands alone. She said that even the strongest tree needs the forest to protect it from the wind. I did not understand what she meant until I came to space and saw how alone humanity was." He paused, looking out at the fleet. Somewhere in that mass of ships were humans, flying alongside aliens who had been strangers just a few years ago. "We are not alone anymore. Today, we stand together. And human and every species that has ever looked up at the stars and wondered what else was out there. Today, we fight not for any one world but for all worlds. Today, we show the universe what happens when we stop being afraid of each other and start being afraid of nothing." The void swarm approached. It was a darkness that blocked out the stars, a cloud of machines so vast it seemed to have no end. Each tiny unit was the size of an insect, but there were trillions of them, moving as one terrible mind. Jake felt's presence in his mind, warm and steady. Through their bond, they could share tactical information instantly, coordinate responses faster than any computer could manage. "All ships," Jake commanded, "engage." The battle that followed would be remembered for thousands of years. It would be taught in schools on 100 worlds. Songs would be sung about it. Stories would be told. Human pilots flew with impossible skill, their short lives making them bold in ways that longer-lived species could not match. They dove into formations that should have killed them and came out the other side laughing. Capital ships provided devastating firepower, their ancient weapons tearing through swarms of machines, though with their natural armor formed living shields to protect damaged vessels. The tiny and fast carried messages and supplies where communications failed. At the center of it all, Jake and commanded from the flagship. Their bonded minds worked as one, seeing patterns that no single person could see, responding to threats before they fully developed. But the swarm was endless. For every machine they destroyed, 10 more appeared from the void. For every victory there was a loss. Ships burned, people died. Jake watched a human destroyer sacrifice itself to save a hospital ship. He felt the deaths through the network of allied commanders, each one a small hole in the fabric of the coalition. "We cannot win like this," he said to through their bond. "We are killing them, but there are too many. We need to find the source." "The central node," she replied. "It is at the heart of their formation. If we destroy it, the entire swarm will lose coordination, but no ship has ever gotten close enough to reach it." Jake studied the tactical display. The central node was protected by layer after layer of machines. Any ship that tried to approach would be torn apart long before it got there. But Jake was human, and humans did not know how to give up. "I have an idea," he said. He gathered a small team, 50 volunteers from different species, each one the best pilot or fighter their people had to offer. They loaded into a specially modified ship, one that had been built using technology from every member of the coalition. "Jake, this is suicide," Captain Dawson said over the communication channel. She was commanding a human fleet group on the far side of the battle. "Let someone else do this." "There is no one else," Jake replied. "I am the only one who can coordinate with from inside their lines. I am the only one who can feel where the defenses are weak." He could feel fear through the bond, but also her pride. She knew he was right. She knew this was what he had to do. "I love you," she said. "I love you too. I will come back, I promise." The small ship dove into the swarm. It was chaos. Machines swarmed around them like angry insects. The shields flared constantly as impacts struck from every direction. The pilots flew with desperate skill, dodging and weaving through gaps that appeared and disappeared in seconds. Jake stood at the center of the ship, eyes closed, feeling the battle through his bond with. She fed him information from the flagship's sensors. He translated it into commands for the pilots. Together, they navigated the impossible. They lost ships, they lost people, but they kept going. Finally, they broke through the last layer of defense, and the central node appeared before them. It was enormous, a twisted mass of dark metal and pulsing energy, like a mechanical heart beating at the center of a mechanical body. Jake felt its attention turn toward them. An alien intelligence, cold and ancient and hungry, probed at his mind. "You cannot win," it spoke, its voice like grinding gears. "You are biological, finite, limited. We are eternal. We will consume everything." "You are wrong," Jake replied. "We are finite, yes. Our lives are short compared to yours, but that is what makes us strong. We know our time is limited, so we make every moment count. We love deeply because we know love can end. We fight hard because we know life is precious. We dream big because we know we will not live forever." He activated the weapon they had brought, a device created from human creativity and science and contributions from every species in the coalition. It was small enough to fit in his hand, but it contained the combined knowledge of a dozen civilizations. "You can live forever," Jake said, "but you will never understand what it means to truly live." He triggered the device. The central node screamed, a sound that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Energy tore through it, unraveling its structure from the inside out, and across the entire battlefield the swarm began to fail. Machines that had moved with perfect coordination suddenly crashed into each other. Formations broke apart. The endless hunger stopped. The coalition pressed their advantage. Within hours, the threat that had terrified the galaxy was reduced to scattered debris and broken machines. Jake's ship limped back to the flagship, barely holding together. When the airlock opened and he stepped out, was waiting for him. She ran to him and held him so tight he could barely breathe. "You crazy, wonderful, impossible human," she whispered into his ear. "I cannot believe you did that." "I promised I would come back," he said. "I always keep my promises." In the aftermath of the battle, the coalition celebrated. Species that had never met before danced together under alien stars. Former enemies shared food and drink and stories. Something new had been born in the crucible of war, something stronger than any empire or alliance. Jake stood on a balcony overlooking the celebration, watching history being made. "You know," Jake said, "when you first claimed me, I thought my life was over. I thought I was giving up everything I knew for something I did not understand. And now—" He turned to look at her, this alien princess who had seen something special in a simple communications officer who cried at beautiful skis. "Now I know that you did not take anything from me. You gave me everything, a purpose, a family, a chance to show the galaxy what humanity can be." Skin blazed golden, that color of absolute certainty she had worn when she first claimed him. "This is only the beginning," she said. "The galaxy has seen what humans can do. They will never forget it. They will never underestimate your species again." Jake looked up at the stars. The same stars he had dreamed about as a boy in Ohio, lying in a field of grass, wondering what was out there. Now he knew. And because an alien princess had chosen him, had seen his worth before he could see it himself, the entire galaxy knew humanity too. They knew that humans were dreamers and fighters and seekers of wonder. They knew that humans never gave up. They knew that in the vast and ancient cosmos, this young species from a small blue world had earned their place among the stars. And the galaxy would never be the same.